Brandon Nimmo's heroics, the Mets are able to avoid a sweep from the Atlanta Braves at Citi Field. Welcome to the Queen's Connection, episode number 12. I'm your host, Andrew Patton. This is a production of Patton Sports Creative, and joined as always by the co-host, Corne Hogbeen. Corne, how was your weekend?
Fine. I had to work this weekend, so luckily we avoided the sweep. That's the main thing for in Mets land. How was yours?
It was all right. I'll put it that way. It's all right. Let's not get too into the specifics here and whatnot. Well, I'm sure it might come out during this podcast for other reasons, but well, the Mets certainly didn't help me this weekend at all with any potential joy or whatever until last night. But then at that point, it's practically Monday at that point. So how much joy can you really take going into a Monday? So I don't know.
You rather had it on the Saturday evening.
Oh, pretty or just any other time.
If you had one game to choose, which day you would prefer?
For the Mets, which one would I prefer? Day of one?
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm fine every time they lose in the City Connects because, like the article you wrote, maybe there's a curse and then they'll stop wearing them. So, if you want to check that
That's not
article
gonna
out, that's on
happen.
our Facebook page.
Yes, that's not going to happen. And they aren't going to stop wearing them. But it has been odd, to say the least, with the City Connect uniforms. The way they have lost the games, probably besides game one, wasn't necessarily great
No,
in the uniforms.
no, definitely not. And like I said, hopefully, people will think they're cursed and they won't wear them again. So,
Yeah, I thought you would like the subject of my latest article.
I
It
did.
was something.
I very much enjoyed it. So, you should go check it out on our Facebook page, Queen's Connection. Just search it, probably pop right up. Go check it out. So, well, no, if they won Friday, that would have been nice too. But obviously that did not happen. So let's talk about Friday's game. The Braves won this. The series opener 4-2 at Citi Field. The Mets had some chances to jump out early, particularly in that second inning, but they couldn't come through. And with 2 outs in the third inning, that's when the Atlanta Braves started to rally. If there's one thing the Braves do, it's hit home runs. And Acuna and Albies went back to back with solo shots to put them up 2-0. And Austin Riley would keep the inning going as well, drawing a 2-out walk. And the next batter, Matt Olson, figures Matt Olson hadn't hit a home run in a while, so why not break out of that at Citi Field? So he hits a 2-run homer. The Braves were up 4-0, and they would stay that way until the 7th inning. Francisco Lindor put one into the bleachers in right field, so the Mets are on the board. And then the 9th inning, it seems like this is what the Mets do. They make it somewhat entertaining in the 9th inning. Pete Alonso drove in a run to put the Mets within 2 runs, so it's 4-2. That means the tying run is at the plate, and it's JD Martinez. Would have been a perfect time for his first Mets home run, and he came close, but unfortunately couldn't come through there for the Mets, so they lose the opener of this series 4-2. Really one bad inning for Jose Quintana. His final line, 5 hits, 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, all of which were earned, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. So Quintana, you had messaged me that just a bit of an anomaly there for a guy like Jose Quintana to allow that many home runs in 1 inning. So, what'd you take away from Quintana in this outing?
Was actually the first time in Quintana's career he allowed 3 home runs in an inning. And we both know that Jose Quintana has had a pretty long career, so it shows that it was unusual. I think overall it wasn't that bad. Just that inning, although the Braves have had some issues with the home runs, they're still dangerous. And we saw that even Matt Olson, who hadn't hit a home run in a while, is still a dangerous left-handed hitter if he connects it going. Same with Pete Alonso when he's slumping. And you still don't want to make a mistake to him, and Quintana did that. So that was the only, terrible inning Quintana had. Unfortunately, it was 4 runs immediately, and the Mets faced a pretty darn good Charlie Morton on the other side. So it was enough for the Braves to win, but I think Quintana overall didn't do that bad. I think, yeah, he deserved maybe. I don't know what his pitch count was after the fifth in on the top of my head, but maybe I would have given him the 6-2 if this pitch count was all right, but I'm not sure. So yeah, it was weird that Quintana allowed home runs with which he doesn't often do. So then, if Quintana allows home runs with the tendency to have some base runners on, it's mostly not a good outing.
Yeah, I'm actually pulling up the box score from that game because I was looking earlier when I was putting together the game summary, and that was something I checked. I believe it was like mid high 80s. I want to say for his pitch count. But obviously the Mets did not let him have the fifth inning. Yeah, 85 pitches for Jose Quintana in that outing. So, um,
I would have given him the sixth. I mean, he just one bad inning. I think you can give him six, and that line looks still not great, but a lot better than five innings, 4 runs. If he was able to give us six, then I think you look a lot different uh, to the line than another, Met starter not able to go more than five.
well, with Quintana only going to five, the Mets turned to the bullpen to get 4 innings out of them, and they only needed two relievers to do it. The return of Johan Ramirez pitched two scoreless innings, as did Adrian Hauser, making his bullpen debut for the Mets, if memory serves me correctly. They both had two
Mm-hmm.
scoreless, so they combined for 4 innings, 1 hit, 0 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Hauser coming out of the bullpen this game. Uh, did you notice anything potentially different about him or compared to his uh, previous outings as a starter?
Not really. I think he had some walks, but got out of it with a couple of ground balls and a great play by Brett Beatty on that pop up. Uh, that was a stunning play. Um, I mean, we have seen Hausers having, you know, glimpses of being that sinker ball guy. I thought he got some ground balls, which is always a good sign for him, but I think he still walked one or two, not having the box score in front of me.
I
So
think he had both those walks.
yeah, so that's still an issue for him, and not a guy who you want to see walking people. You want a sinker baller just throw strikes and get ground balls, and if a ground ball gets through, oh well, then it's still him doing what he wants to do. So stop walking people, Adrian Hauser. I think he obviously wants to do the same limiting walks, but Johan Ramirez, by the way, he was nasty in his 2 innings. I think he went too perfect with 3 strikeouts. Slider looked really good. The guy who who we DFA'd because of a roster crunch earlier in the year. Um, a lot of people were pretty mad that we got him back, but I think it's a very useful arm. Although I do believe with Drew Smith coming back, he's most likely the odd man out again because there's no other bullpen option that you are gonna drop. So before I praise Johan Ramirez too much, he will probably be out the door very soon. So, by the way, we're probably gonna talk about it, but some interesting roster decisions are coming up fairly soon with Drew Smith coming back and Tyler McGill and Peterson pitching well in the minor leagues. So it's maybe something to discuss later.
Yeah, potentially could throw that on the table and chew on that. Well, Saturday's game there was some hype because it was Christian Scott's Citi Field debut. Nice crowd at the ballpark, which is always good to see. Um, I had my feelings about the crowd last night, so maybe I'll share those a little bit later. But
Oh,
oh, there's a teaser right there for you. Um,
oh.
you know,
And with how you responded yesterday, it's probably not. gonna be that positive, but I haven't heard this one, so I'm very curious.
Oh, well, I'm glad to spark your interest and keep you on here just so you can wait for that because I know you're just itching to hit the call in button here. So,
Oh, no way. No way.
well, Saturday, Citi Field, an afternoon game. The Mets were looking to rebound after losing the opener. It was Christian Scott making his Citi Field debut against Max Fried. So a good potential pitcher's duel brewing here. The Braves struck first in the game with an Orlando Arcia two-run homer in the third. In the following inning, the Braves would add a run with a Michael Harris two-out RBI single. So just like that, the Braves are up 3-0. The Mets did have some chances in this game. They were able to draw some walks against Max Fried, put that pitch count up, but unfortunately, the Mets weren't not able to do much of anything with those opportunities. In the ninth inning, the Braves would increase their lead after Ronald Acuna Jr. Drew a bases loaded walk. So the Braves are up 4-0, and the Mets at this point are just hoping that they don't get no hit, and it came pretty damn close. They were 1 out away from getting no hit by the Braves. Fried had the 7 scoreless no hit innings. Joe Jimenez had an eventful 8th inning with his walks, but did not allow a hit. And Raisel Iglesias was 1 out away from finishing off the no hitter, but JD Martinez decided that was the perfect time to hit his first home run as a New York Met. He hit one over the right center field fence. So the Mets are not going to get no hit and not get shut out. So he killed 2 birds with 1 stone with that swing. And then the Mets, they had some chance. They had a chance again. They got the tying run to the plate. But unfortunately, just like the night before, they flew out to end the game. So the Mets lose Saturday's affair 4-1. Uh, Other than potentially getting no hit, probably the headline was Christian Scott, like we said. Final line: 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, all of which were earned, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Um, if anything was different, in my opinion, about Scott in this game compared to his Tampa game, was that he fell behind some hitters early in the counts, and I think that's kind of what did him in a couple times. But overall, I think Christian Scott threw the ball well. What did you take away from Christian Scott's Citi Field debut?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. He got behind a little bit more. Walks were a little bit more of an issue, but also on the 2-run homer by Arcia, he got behind the 7th and 8th hitter, and they both. Harris singled and Arcia homered, so um, he wasn't as sharp as he was in Tampa Bay. But still, you take that line against the Braves lineup every day of the time, especially out of your young arm making a Citi Field debut. Um, Threw a lot more fastballs early, I thought, and after the home run, we saw a little bit more split changes, which actually was a pretty good pitch for him. It's not, think it's his third pitch, so it's good to see that got some success. So control, I think, yeah, what you said, control was not as sharp. He wasn't as sharp as his Tampa outing, but still, still pretty good outing.
Yeah, against a good lineup like the Atlanta Braves. He struck out Cunha multiple times, if memory serves me correctly. So overall, a good outing for Christian Scott in my mind. So just some more stuff to build on for him. The Mets, like we said, were able to not get no hit or shut out in this game. Um, but just these opportunities they were able to get, even drawing the walks, they had chances to get some runs or prolong innings, whatever. But they get a base runner and they wouldn't do anything about it. It's an issue we've seen um, through these first, if I do my math correctly, 39 games or so this season. We're getting to that benchmark of Memorial Day for the baseball season. So I want to say time's ticking for the Mets offense to really kind of put it together fully. Um, but I don't know. Is that too harsh? Is that unfair? I mean, what do you think about um, just kind of this really like since we talked about the Los Angeles series, this offense um, mostly struggling, I would say for the most part.
Yeah, it shows glimpses, but overall, it's low scoring affairs, especially in City Field. They have a lot of trouble, and that's also the case for opponents. We saw a lot of low scoring games in City Field this year, so The ballpark probably didn't help. Maybe the cold weather probably doesn't help. But yeah, we've seen some, guys that you tend to think they will get out of their early season slumps and still, not hitting the ball consistently well. I think Lindor is, by the way, before everybody thinks I'm talking about Lindor, but I think it's more guys like Jeff McNeil. JD Martinez hasn't hit his stride yet. Although it was good to see that we saw a vintage JD Martinez home run going the other way. So hopefully that's the start of something. But we have, you said it on the chat, and I think right now, if you look at the numbers, you just have too many holes in the lineup, guys who maybe early in the season we raved about. I think earlier podcasts we talked about Marte and Beatty as two guys that were big question marks and started out the season well, but lately they just haven't been hitting a lot, and those are two. I mean, those guys are two everyday players. If you also include Jeff McNeil and a guy like Harrison Bader, you probably have an opinion about Harrison Bader, but that's a lot of guys right now in your lineup that aren't performing. And JD Martinez, you can. There's a lot of guys who with in the offense aren't hitting, and yeah, a lot of holes in your lineup right now. It is not a good thing for a consistent, good offensive uh, run production. Let me say it that way.
Yeah, just that's like I said last night. There's a lot of pretty dreadful OPSs in this lineup right now, and there are some guys, like I said, that are on the lower end of that spectrum. But I don't have I don't worry too much about like Francisco Lindor. We've seen the at bat; they're a lot better. Alonso had his drought, and he's coming around. We saw it, really in St. Louis, and it carried over to this Brave series for the most part. Even the outs he made in that game, they got almost no hit, came pretty damn close a couple times, or at least one to off the top of my head. Um,
Yeah,
got fooled a little bit maybe by the route Michael Harris took, or maybe not the route, but the way he went back for the ball. You thought, oh, it was going to get out, and nope, right there at the wall. So
both him and Cunha did that in the game. By the way, that's irritating, because even I saw the contact from Alonso and I thought he didn't get it. But if you look at the outfielder and how they walk, and then you see that guy just jogging, and then you think, oh, maybe it has a chance, or at least over his head. But easy catches on both occasions, so that's pretty nasty by them to
yeah,
to play that ball like that. Fun though. I think it's funny, but
so we talk about some of these guys and the OPS numbers not being there. So obviously these numbers are coming into today, Monday, the day after Mother's Day. Um, Starling Marte has a 673 OPS. Brett Beatty 634. Harrison Bader 631. Jeff McNeil 626. Those are guys you're relying on to. I mean, maybe some more than others for some offensive output. And right now they're not doing it. Uh, some of those. You look at Harrison Bader. I mean, you open the box. Do you want to go there? Do we want to go there?
I don't know. It's up to you.
Well, so when the Mets were in St. Louis, there was that New York Post article that came out that Bader's complaining about his lack of playing time of late, whatever, he can't get into a groove or it's hard, whatever, but it's what I got to do to help the team, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, if Harrison Bader really wants to play every day, maybe he shouldn't go 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts and, no, oh, he's hitting 266. That's pretty good for Harrison Bader. Yeah, when 29 of he has 29 hits this year, only 4 extra base hits. Like, so you get a hit, great, it's a single, and then you get on base, and we talk about Bader having good speed, whatever. I don't think his stolen bases numbers, at least off the top of my head, are anything to rave about, especially in this day and age where it's they practically giving you second base almost. So 5 stolen bases for Harrison Bader this year. He has been caught twice. So he's attempted 7. He's gotten 5. That's not a bad, you know, percentage, whatever. So maybe when you get on base, you should do it a lot more when you get your little number single that's not consistent enough to, whatever. Like maybe you should try to take second base more often or something. I don't know, but stop about your playing time when you're not really doing anything productive to keep you in the lineup. He's a good defender, yeah, we know that, but right now with this team, with the way the offense is, other guys aren't really doing much of anything. You need to have guys like DJ Stewart who are doing something, even though he's not close to being the same level defender as Harrison Bader. But it's a guy you can at least rely on to, get a base hit when you need it, hit it out of the ballpark, something like that. So the Mets are at a point right now. I think at a point. I don't know. Like I said, maybe it's too hard to say at this point in the season, but you're getting close to Memorial Day. We know that's a benchmark in the season. Guys got to start picking it up. They got to start picking it up. If Harrison Bader really wants to play every day, you got to start picking him at the plate, buddy. Stop swinging at stuff in the dirt and then complaining that they didn't ask the first base umpire when you clearly went around. Like, stop, okay?
Well, that was red number one for this episode. Probably more will follow. One thing you said, though, in your rant that I wanted to highlight is yes, this is a group now that is struggling offensively. So right now, we need more offense than defense. If everybody does what he needs to do, you can live with Harrison Bader, batting ninth and doing what he's doing now, because Harrison Bader's probably not gonna hit that much better than his OPS is right now. But right now, we need a guy like DJ Stewart that gets on base, that gets some clutch hits, and that can, be that guy that puts you on the board with one swing. And Harrison Bader right now hasn't done that. And we also, by the way, did, do we hear Tyrone Taylor bitch about his playing time? A guy who had a great start to the season and still found maybe a little bit more playing time, but still hasn't found that much playing time. He said, "Yeah, and do whatever it takes for the team, and then trying to win." That's an answer you want to hear from a team player. And Tyrone Taylor is a very good defensive player as well. So he's just doing what he can. And it's not easy for Tyrone Taylor because we see in his numbers that they are decreasing a little bit. But it's the same for Tyrone Taylor, that it probably also has trouble, getting into a groove. But you don't hear him.
No, and part of the reason they had Bader here too is because he's traditionally hit left-handers well. Well, this year his slash line against left-handers 212, 257, 242. That's a 499 OPS. Like,
That's not good.
no, it's not good at all. Like, I get it, you're a good defender, and I'm not debating that. I'm sure if you really dove into the numbers, he's probably at the top of a lot of stuff when it comes to outs above average or defensive runs saved, whatever. But and usually we like that, for the defense, because it's a team that's had a history of not being good defensively at all. And unfortunately, even though they brought in guys like that, it's appeared to carry over this year as well. Maybe it's a bug that the Mets have. I don't know. But um, when you're putting up numbers like that, I just don't. I don't take you seriously when you start whining, complaining to the media about your lack of playing time. Like,
Yeah,
you're not
you can.
doing anything that deserves like that you can really question whether or it's Mendoza or whoever's putting the lineup together, the analytics department, Stearns, whoever's making these decisions that, hey, you're not in the lineup today. Like, you can't complain or about it when this is what you're putting together at the plate. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and like I said, it's also what the Mets need right now. The Mets need offense. So, yeah, sorry, Harrison Bader. If you get normal production out of Jeff McNeil, Starling Marte, all those names that you have mentioned so far that has OPSs low, we see that the Mets have issues offensively, and the pitching has been pretty good, and it's the offense that has lagged. So yeah, it's what right now the Mets need. We obviously we also have we don't have Francisco Alvarez, what is a huge miss because that's another, catching. Um, you now have Thomas Nido, who's clearly a defensive first guy, and Omer Narvaez, who's a nothing guy. Not a guy you probably get rant about, but he's not doing anything right now. So
The only thing he's doing is taking up a roster spot. That's it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well,
I get they don't really have anyone else.
If the Mets make the right decision when Alvarez comes back, I won't blame them. If they do, then I will blame them.
Yes.
But that's another spot in the lineup right now that's not producing like you hoped that it would with Alvarez in there. So, a lot of bad hitting performances, bad hitting spots so far. You need offense, and yes, that DJ Stewart has showed that he's at least able to, get on base and hit for some power. Then it's logical that when you need offense, you right now value offense. I think right now for how the offense is playing, you value offense a little bit more than defense, and maybe later in the year when the other hitters get going, we will see a little bit more of Harrison Bader. Yeah. So how it works, Harrison. Sorry.
Well, we talk about DJ Stewart, guy in the lineup. Pretty much in my mind right now, if there's a right-hander on the mound, you got to pencil Stewart in no matter what. And it was also funny too. Well, I shouldn't say funny because the only reason he was leading off was because Nimmo was not available to start the game after what I thought was going to be a lengthy absence of Brandon Nimmo. That appears not to be the case anymore. But
there's something good happened this weekend.
There's something good we can talk about. We can dive into the Sunday game now. But on our last episode, we talked about Nimmo. If they would move him down, who would bat lead off, whatever. And Stewart was the name we threw out there. Well, he led off Sunday night naturally, and he had a good night at the plate. He went 2 for 3. Also drew a walk, scored a run. So that was good to see. But
base 3 times.
Yeah, he got on base 3 times. That's what the Mets need right now.
Yeah.
But on Sunday night baseball, so we got to enjoy the ESPN. I really love how Carl Ravitch keeps calling Jeff O'Neill, like that.
Yeah, that's, I noticed that too. Like, it's not like
what a clown.
It's not Jeff McNeil is in the league for 2 months or something like that. He's been in the league since 2018.
Yeah, like come on. There's a big ass scoreboard in center field too. You can't duck down and check the name. I don't know. You're probably keeping score too. Did you really write O'Neill on your scorecard too? Probably did. He's an idiot.
Yeah, and also, damn, you're having yourself your signature episode today. I expected it, by the way, so I knew that this was gonna happen. So I'm having a blast.
I'm glad you are. Well, before the Mets won the game, they got down early. Naturally, the former first-round pick of the New York Mets, who now plays for the Atlanta Braves, Jared Kelenic, got it started with a solo shot to right field in the second inning. But the Mets would respond in the third with a big 2-out hit by Pete Alonso to tie the game at 1. After the Braves got the first 2 men on in the 6th inning, the Mets went to the bullpen. So Severino's day was done. And then Marcell Ozuna came up and got a base hit to drive in the go-ahead run. So the Braves were up 2-1. Garrett would strike out the next 3 batters to get out of the inning. But a quick response by the New York Mets, and it's 2 guys they are heavily relying on to get this offense going. Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso. Lindor doubled, Alonso doubled him in. So we're tied at 2 apiece. Going into the 8th inning, Adam Ottavino came in, and first man reached, former Met Zach Short, who came in for the injured Austin Riley, which is not good for my fantasy team, by the way.
We can talk about your fantasy week later because that's another
thing that will get me going.
Another point of this weekend that didn't went your way. I'm getting close. 50 points behind right now.
I think we're tied. I think you, me, and someone else are tied at 5-1.
Yes, we are all 5-1, but you are 50 points ahead of me in the total.
Oh, that's a tiebreaker.
Yeah, that's the tiebreak. So you're still in the lead, but I think it was like 300 points behind a week ago or something, 2 weeks ago. So I'm I'm creeping closer, buddy. I'm creeping closer, just like last year.
Well, just like you were trying to take the lead, the Braves took the lead in the eighth inning. Uh, who else? Marcell Ozuna, his second RBI single of the game. The Braves are up 3-2. That was all against Adam Ottavino. So that would be the score going to the bottom of the ninth. Jeff McNeil dragged a bunt to get himself on first base. Nita would then sacrifice him over to second base. So Brandon Nimmo, who came into the game a couple innings earlier, would come to the plate, work the typical Nimmo at bat, 3-2, and he got one. He said Minter hung a cutter. He put it over the right center field wall. The Mets walked it off. They won 4-3. They salvaged the finale of this series against the Atlanta Braves. So Severino got the start. Like I had mentioned, final line, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, all of which were earned, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. He was coming off that weird outing against the Tampa Bay Rays. He said he felt his command was a little bit better, but still some stuff to work on. Uh, what do you think about Sevy in this game?
I think he said it well. His command obviously was better. Tempe walked six. Still had some inconsistencies in his control during the game. Um, I don't mind that home run to Jared Kelnick. I think home runs, happen. So overall, I think he threw the ball well. I think in the sixth inning, if I remember correct, was a hit and a walk before Reed Garrett came in. So gave maybe a little bit, and he was fairly high in pitch count in that sixth inning, if I remember correctly. So maybe it was a little bit of a him being tired thing, but um, not getting that deep into the game. But you still take it. 5 plus innings, 2 runs against the Braves. Mendoza tried to do with Severino what he didn't try to do with Quintana. So I'm good with that. I'm not gonna second guess that move because I just said that I wanted Quintana to get the sixth. Um, so yeah, it was fine. I I do hope we get a little bit more in controlled Severino next time outing, but it was a good step in the right direction after the Tampa out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Obviously, Severino has been the Mets' best pitcher from the beginning of the year to now, in my opinion. So uh, you have some faith that with the way that Hefner's worked with him, he can, if he has a bad outing, he'll be able to rebound, work on some stuff, and get out of it.
Bad outings happen for every pitcher, so not gonna not gonna be too worried about uh, one mediocre outing against the Tampa Bay Rays. And I think he limited damage in that game, if I remember correctly. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Although obviously you don't want to walk six guys, but I think it was the game that we eventually lost
Yep.
on a walk off.
Yep.
So he still kept us in the game that game. So if your bad outings are like that, good with that.
Yep. Another bit of a bad outing for Adam Ottavino here, but really since the Tampa game, even though he got the save um, in St. Louis, he did work. If I remember correctly, I think the first game he did have a pretty nice outing, but even this his when he got the save against the Cardinals, it was playing with fire. This one against the Braves, play with fire. He had a lead off walk. That's not going to get things done, um, and this was kind of the reason why. Like I don't hate Adam Ottavino, obviously, but with the way the game is nowadays, especially with these base runners, with how slow he is to the plate, um, like I think I've said, maybe when we were recapping that race series with Ottavino, a single or walk becomes a double, basically. And that's what happened here with Zach Short stealing the bag. Um, I mean, I don't want to rail on Adam Ottavino. Like I said, I don't hate him. When he's on, he's really good. He's in a stretch right now where he's not on. Um, but it's just one of those things right now with the Mets' inability to really hold runners, even though they did have 2 pickoffs in this game, Cunha twice.
Mm.
Um, it's he's just not a guy that's good at doing it. So he's really got to limit base runners, and he's in a little bit of a stretch right now where he's not. Uh, guys are getting on base, whether it's hits or walks. So he's got to get it together because you know he's in high leverage situations 9 times out of 10. So base runners are something he's really got to limit.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a veteran. I think he will get out of this little slump, but it's definitely a little bit more of an issue for Adam Ottavino than for other guys. So it's even more important for him to keep that whip down. Let me say it that way.
Yeah, and so Diekman came in after Osuna singled. He finished off the inning for the Mets in that 8th inning, but even he comes into the game. The first batter he faces is Michael Harris, and he walks him. Like it's just an issue with the Mets. You know, uh,
Now,
I mean,
we know with Diekman
we
that
beat this dead horse so many times. We don't have to go into it again, but like the
uh,
walks are just such an issue. Like we talked last night on the chat, you can't really complain too much about the pitching overall. But
no,
if there's something you can nitpick with this
yeah,
team, it's the walks, and
yes,
it's an issue.
true. Although I would say I tried to say that 2 times, but you just went on.
It's going.
You know, with Diekman, it's not that you
That
when you got Diekman, you knew this is his main
you knew
issue,
that's what the
and
trade off was.
yeah, exactly. He's done that. I mean, probably every year in his career that he had a pretty high walk rate. So, yeah, it's part of his game. It's part of Jake Diekman's.
And it didn't really amount to the walk didn't amount to anything. It wasn't crucial, whatever. He got the
No,
next two guys out, but you can't just you're in the game. You already you got two runners on base.
yeah,
Your manager's looking for you to really limit any potential damage.
yeah.
You just can't do that the first your first batter
No,
you face because you brought in the face Harris, lefty lefty matchup, and
yeah, yeah, you put yourself into more risk than it already was, and um, I mean, 2 of the 3 runs that scored were leadoff walks. So
yeah,
um, that's we all know. We all have heard the stats for a long, long time that when you walk the leadoff hitter, they tend to score. So Adam Ottavino walked Sec Short. Well, we know Sec Short. You don't want to walk Sec Short in that Braves lineup. You think, nice, Austin Riley is out, and get an easy out or an easier out. Nobody is an easy out in a major leagues, even Sec Short. But one thing you don't want to do right there is walk the effing guy. And what does Ottavino do? Also a speedy guy, like you mentioned. So a walk could be a double. And Adam Ottavino does exactly that against a guy who, one, doesn't hit for power. So you give him a double with the stolen base and the walk, but let's call it a double for a guy who probably the best case scenario against you when you're in the strike zone is hit a double against you.
so I don't know. Obviously, the Mets won. That's huge. They really needed that after some of the sour taste they've
Exactly.
had, from the first 2 games of that series. So, no, it's good. Brandon Nimmo, easily been their best player. I mean, I love
MVP right now.
Lindor overall is probably their best player, but there's no doubt in my mind right now, or when you rank the
It,
guys, it, Nimmo's top 3 probably should be top 2, to be honest. Like I would say I love Brandon Nimmo. You know that I've pretty much from day one. I said if they trade him for Jay Bruce back in 2016, it'd be a mistake. They ended up trading your guy, Dilson Herrera. That did not turn out to be a mistake.
that was better trade.
But I would easily take Brandon Nimmo over Pete Alonso right now. Easily.
uh, yeah, I agree. That's a bold statement, though. But I think I do. Also, let me say it like this: Pete Alonso's power is unmatched um, by few hitters in the major leagues, and power is something we desperately need. So, for that reason, Pete Alonso staying on Met, I would never be mad about. But if you look at how Brandon Nimmo one has developed and two his way of playing the game, even if Brandon Nimmo loses a little bit of his power, you still can see that he gets some base a fair amount of time and he can still be productive. So for a long term deal, uh, for a long term deal, I take Nimmo over Pete Alonso, because if Pete Alonso loses power, then you don't have that much left
Yeah,
in his game.
and obviously the Mets did give Nimmo the long term deal a couple off seasons
They
ago,
could,
which was like you gave him the 8 years. Maybe that's more than anyone would want to give him, but it's what you had to do to get the job done. It's a guy you couldn't let get away, especially in that market at the time with center
yeah,
fielders. The next best guy was
yes,
Bellinger, but he was coming off that bad year in his last bad year with the Dodgers, so there was risk there. With me, in my mind, with Nimmo, you knew what you were getting, so it was worth the years, the money, um, to keep him here.
I I think he even outperformed what you knew what you were gonna get. I think he overproduced so far.
Yeah, no, and he was great last year, and in center field too. They didn't have to move him to left field this year. They did it because they didn't do it for Harrison Bader. They did it because of the guys that they're counting on who are in Binghamton or Syracuse right now. Whether that's
100%.
Gilbert, Jet Williams, Acuna. I know Acuna played center field yesterday.
Ah, I wanted to. Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to.
It's okay.
I had it.
I download I swear to God, before we started recording, I did download a bleep sound effect because I knew something was going to happen, mostly on my end. So we got that in our back pocket for.
I had it in my notes, just saying. Oh, Acuna played center field. I think it's a big thing that he played center field. By the way, I think that's makes him a lot more valuable for the future, for him to be able to play center field and shortstop. But yeah, you stepped on me. Is that how they say it in English when?
Stole my thunder, stepped on me. I usually use steal my thunder mostly. So,
All
but
right.
we
Well,
can use that as a segue to your to the minor league segment brought to you by Corne.
yes. So now I have to start with Syracuse instead of. So all my notes
If
are.
if you got to reorganize your notes, do you just want me to go on my rant about the attendance?
Let's go. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so obviously Saturday, no afternoon 4:10. And let's say
Nice
this:
bubble.
there was a bobblehead giveaway, so that probably played a factor into it as well.
Yeah.
But the attendance Saturday at Citi Field was 38,919. So they almost a sellout. I mean, that ballpark was, you could tell on the broadcast too with the shots. Like that ballpark was pretty damn close to being sold out. Um, and then you turn around Sunday. I get it. It's Sunday night baseball. It's also Mother's Day. That might have factored into it too. But there's 20,000 less people in that ballpark the next night. Like, come on. They're playing the Braves. Like, I get the team isn't performing the way anyone really wanted to overall at this point, but to have that big of a drop off from one day to the next, that's to me that. Oh, and it's not obviously it's not like, oh, the Mets don't get enough fan support, they're going to move the team to Albuquerque. Like the Mets are never going to move. They're never going to move. We know that, but it's just extremely disappointing to go to just have these on a national broadcast too. No, to just have the ballpark that empty when you're playing your division rival. It's disappointing to see the ballpark that empty, in my opinion. Like, I think fans could do a better job of going out. Personally, I get it, it's expensive. I get it in this day and age, everything's super expensive. I get it. And I think the Mets are trying to work around that, making it um, family oriented financially as well. Um,
I mean, you can go to the ballpark for like $10, right?
I know they do like these special packages, like 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 sodas for $40 or whatever the kind of deals they do are. They do things like there's no fees on ticket purchases. Um, you know,
We
they,
we. I mean, we can't watch and look in anybody's wallet. So if they are not able to uh, go because of financial issues, I mean, I get that, but there are tons of Mets fans. Um, it's a big city.
You go like look at Tampa Bay. Like I get people probably migrate down there from the city, whatever. But like, there's no doubt that Tropicana Field most nights was probably on a low end 60-40 Met fans. Like there are people that will travel with the team, whatever. Like I don't know. Maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing. I just think it's disappointing. I get the team's not playing the way we want it to, like I said, but I think people can do a better job of.
Still just one game out, people. I mean, let's support the Mets and be there. Uh, if I listen to you talk about this, there's always one thing in my mind, that I wish I was closer to Citi Field, because I would be at at Citi Field. Um, Maybe if I had the chance, 25 to 30 games a year, if I was close to Citi Field and was able to say, hey, tonight's a ball game, let's go. And I think you will be the same way if we were fairly close. I mean, for you, it's like a 5.5 hour drive. Obviously, for me, it's a plane ticket and a hotel ticket and all that kind of stuff to get there. So, but I mean, you still go to 20 games a year, something like that.
I'd say probably between 10 and 15, but I've only been once this year. Obviously, there's a couple times I wanted to go, but other things have gotten in the way. Like, I totally get that, but, it,
Yeah, but for you, you just, and it's the same with me. We just can say, oh, I have a night off, an evening off, let's go.
yeah,
For us, we have to plan ahead. You have a 5.5 hour drive. You can decide at like 5 p.m. For a 7 p.m. game. From, oh, let's go to the game. We are off. Let's go. And that's something I would probably, if I live close, I probably would do that like at least 15 times a year. Let's say, oh, hey, let's just go to the ballpark.
yeah.
Um,
And I think for us too, what makes it more irritating for us is like you said, like for us, this is something we have to kind of write down a plan, budget stuff,
yeah,
whatever. And
I
I'm
think
sure everyone's got to, I understand
sure,
it.
sure.
You know, th-
Everyone, yeah, everybody has their life. Sure, yeah,
I totally get that. I totally understand it. And maybe that's the case with some people last night. Like, hey, we were gonna go, but we something came up, we couldn't go, whatever. I totally get that. But I was just thinking, like the Sun. I get the circumstances were different. It was a different team. It was a different year. The things were just they were flying so high. But like in 2020 when we went, um, the Philly series, obviously they had a no hitter the Friday night. The next night, Saturdays, they always do well on Saturdays. But that next game, that Sunday game, the finale, it was Sunday Night Baseball, and that ballpark was packed. There were a lot of people there. So like, I get the life excuse, but no, I think people are just they're not happy with the way the team's playing. Like I said, I get it, but come on, like we can. I know the Mets can do better than drawing 18,000 people on a Sunday night.
100%. And it also helps the Mets. It helps the team if you come. It's that easy.
Yeah,
If sales are up, I mean, I think Steve Cohen and the Mets had a pretty big loss last year because the ballpark was fairly empty because the team didn't play well. I mean, we have been to bad seasons and had fun in the ballpark. I remember 2018 where we didn't have a good season and we went to a lot of games together. We still had a lot of fun. I mean, you can still enjoy a baseball game while the team maybe isn't as good as you expected or hoped. So,
I remember back
agree.
like those 2012, 2013 years when they were if you want to say that was the bottom, the bottom of the barrel that they were scraping, or for whatever. They were still drawing pretty good crowds. And I I get in this day and age, everything's expensive. I totally get that. Um, I just think they can do better. Like we can do better than 18,000 against the Braves Sunday Night Baseball. It's a marquee game. It really is. I think we can do. we can do a lot better. I think we can do a lot better.
I agree.
But I don't think I have much. I think you'd see that the gas is getting. I'm running out of gas for uh, for my ranting and whatnot. So, all right. Well, I think
Yeah.
your notes are probably, God, if your notes aren't in order by now, I don't know what the hell you've been doing for the last
Well, listening to
couple of
you
minutes.
because
Yeah.
that was also interesting.
So
Now I
now
have
we can
my
talk
notes
some
ready.
minor league baseball, and obviously there's a
Yes.
lot to talk about.
Well, I'm gonna do it quick because we are pretty long into this episode, so I'm just gonna talk notes. Luis Angel Acuna, you obviously stole my thunder there, but he had a bit of an FU Corne series after my article last week. Went 6 for 16 with a walk. He has a 9-game hitting streak going, and had an outfield assist in center field. So that was a pretty cool note. Tyler McGill, he was good again. 5 1/3 scoreless innings with 7 strikeouts and no walks. Now an 0.64 ERA over 14 innings with 23 strikeouts, an 0.71 whip in his rehab outings. I think we both know that walks, hits per innings pitch are an issue for Tyler McGill. So seeing that he has limited that in his minor league games is pretty good. Moving on, Binghamton. Blade Tidwell, his blade wasn't as sharp as you said last time. Kudos to Andrew for that great note.
Thank you.
Um, he had a bad outing for the first time this year. Allowed 5 runs and 10 hits on Friday, just in 2 innings. ERA went all the way up to 2.59. Even I thought one thing was funny that he had an 8-inning performance the game before, and was bad the next one, just like Severino and Quintana were. So it's not only in the major leagues that happens; it also happens in the minor leagues. Kevin Parada also thought, well, FU Corne, because he had a good weekend, was much needed. He hit his 3rd and 4th home run of the season, going 5 for 14 with 7 RBIs in the series. So I have to write negative articles more often. Guy you like, Jeremiah Jackson, homer 2 days in a row. Still struggling in Binghamton, but it's good to see that power is slowly coming. And some other news that Binghamton will have Brandon Sprout and Ryan Clifford on their roster soon because they were just promoted. Moving on to Brooklyn, got a second look at Nolan McLean. He had some trouble with the top of the order from the Rome Braves early. The first 3 innings, the top four hitters were 4 for 8 with a walk and 2 runs scored. Overall, he went 5 innings of 2-run ball. And those 4 hits all against the top of the order, 2 walks and 5 strikeouts. And Douglas Orellana, mentioned him a couple of weeks ago. He had another great start, 4 scoreless innings, allowing just 2 hits, 1 walk, and 10 strikeouts. Pretty impressive in 4 innings. ERA is down to 1.11 with 35 strikeouts in 24 1/3 innings. So he is still having a great year in Brooklyn. Moving on to St. Lucie, I got a look at Jack Wenninger for a bit. He allowed 5 runs in the first, a bit unlucky because 2 balls probably should have been caught, but then 2 walks and a grand slam, got to him. After that first, he settled down, ended up with 6 innings, allowing 6 runs, so 1 run after the first inning with 10 strikeouts. So his line score is probably worse than how he pitched. Jesus Baez, who we mentioned last week, hit his 4th home run. His OPS is now up to 800. And Jeffrey Rosa, a guy who a lot of people on the X like, is having a hot start for St. Lucie. He hit his first 2 home runs, one on Friday and one on Saturday. Small sample size in his first series, but a 1125 OPS for St. Lucie. And we also have the Florida Complex League. Jeremy Rodriguez, who we both really like. We got him from Tommy Pham in the trade. He played really well for the Mets last year, and he's done it again this year for the Florida complex leagues, now hitting 400 with an 11.00 OPS. And Joel Diaz, who's coming back from Tommy John surgery with his second strong rehab outing, 1 2/3 inning, 2 hits and run, but it was unearned. No walks, 4 strikeouts. 3 1/3 not innings of not allowing an earned run with 6 Ks so far in his rehab outings. He has a 3.21 ERA over 109 1/3 minor league innings with 120 strikeouts. It's an interesting arm out of the Dominican, and good to have him back. So that was the minor league notes, a little bit quicker than we are accustomed to because of your rants, but we got information through.
You got it all out. You got what you wanted to say out.
I barely got what I wanted to say out.
Well, Corne's minor league minute was brought to you by insert sponsor here.
So. Yeah, that will work.
Yeah.
Maybe
someone wants to give us a couple bucks. That'd be nice.
Yes, not going to make a joke out of that.
Oh well. So this is how I'm going to roll with this because it's a 2-game home and home with the Phillies. So right. I think what we're going to do is we'll just count this as quote unquote 4 games. So obviously it starts tonight in New York for the first 2. Sean Manaea is on the mound going up against Christopher Sanchez. Tuesday, it's Jose Butto against Aaron Nola. Wednesday in Philadelphia, it's TBD for the Mets against Ranger Suarez. It's the same thing on Thursday, TBD against Taijuan Walker. Maybe they're deciding if they want to give Hauser another look, get the 6-man rotation going. But I would imagine...
I think it's McGill.
Or McGill. Yeah. It's possible. We'll see. But I have to think maybe Quintana will pitch one of those games in Philadelphia as well, based on just how things have scheduled out, So that's the look ahead for this series with the Phillies. Another big opponent. How are you feeling? What do you think?
You forgot one big thing to mention before doing this.
Probably did.
Yeah. I got the prediction right again.
Oh, yeah, that was the big thing we were missing in this episode. Glad we got that out.
I would take a split, so I'm going with split. I mean, the Phillies have been red hot, so facing we miss Wheeler, who's wasn't that good last time out. I think I heard you say that because of your fantasy loss this week.
I had a lot of bad outings in fantasy this week, and his one yesterday cost me. I lost by more than 2 points, but it didn't help my case. So, oh well. That's how it goes in the world of fantasy baseball, I guess. So
we are now tied. So
yes, should be our division is a lot more interesting than a lot of divisions in baseball.
Yeah, definitely 3-5-1 teams. So
it's going to go down to the wire. It's neck and neck.
Yes, like it's like having one tremendous AL or NL East, and then the rest sucks a little bit.
Our division is basically the AL East last year. Yeah. Put it that way. Just a lot of stacked teams.
But it's fun though.
It is fun that way, and I purposely manipulate the division so we were in the same division, and certain people were in the same division, which makes it more fun.
So. Yeah, you did. But 2-2 on the 2-2
for this 2-game home and home with the Phillies, whatever you want to call it, classify it as. So, well, I think we're going to wrap it up here.
Smart. Before you say more
before I say something else that's going to get me in trouble. Wow. Well, thanks for joining as always. Appreciate you covering the minor leagues. Do a good job there. So,
thank you.
We appreciate you. This has been the 12th episode of the Queen's Connection podcast, a production of Patent Sports Creative. We're on social media, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever the hell you call it, whatever your preference is for that. Follow us there, like us. We're also on YouTube. Go check out YouTube. We post full episodes, clips, all that good stuff. So make sure to like, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, listen on Spotify. Do the same thing. Like, subscribe, tell people tell people about us. Whatever you want to do, get us out there. So I think that's how it's going to go. So thanks for listening, everyone. Enjoy this home and home series against the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll talk to you on Friday.